In the last class, Lord Krishna was explaining more about Atma. He was saying that Atma is immortal, which means it cannot be destroyed by any of the four elements, or it cannot get destroyed by any of the four elements. So since Atma is immortal, a seeker of self-knowledge, when he understands that I am the Atma, he also becomes an immortal. So, when I identify myself with Atma, I become an immortal person. However, we also understood that accepting immortality is not all that easy, because it is not natural. Mortality is natural, that keeps happening, that is what we have experienced. It happens. So since anything that is not natural, we have a tendency to reject it. Hence, immortality is not nature. So we tend to reject. Accepting I am immortal is not easy thing, or it doesn't happen. However, mortality is what we accept, because for us it is nature. We experience this through various occasions. Happiness is also nature, hence we don't reject happiness. We always welcome happiness, and we don't worry because we are happy. Is it not? And have you ever seen anyone complaining because that person is happy? No. Acceptance of happiness is there. Why? Because happiness is nature, whereas acceptance of sorrowness is missing, because sorrowness is not nature. A simple understanding we need to have. That which is not nature, we don't accept, we reject. And sorrow is not nature, thereby we reject. We don't welcome, we don't accept sorrow. But if I am able to identify myself with Atma, getting this Atma Jnana, which Lord Krishna is been teaching since verse number 12 of chapter 2, if we gain this knowledge and able to identify ourselves with Atma, then my realization will be that I am immortal. And so Lord says that who is going to be dying here? Who is going to kill whom? And who is going to get killed by whom? And that's what he said. And further moving away from that verse, we also see that Atma is free from all senses. Hence it is, knowing this, since Atma is free from all senses, why do you worry about it? When Lord Krishna says that Atma is free from all senses, it does not have a mind which can reflect emotions, which can reflect feelings, or which can create perceptions. So when none of these things are there, then why do you worry about something? So he says, Arjuna, Atma is free from all senses, and so don't be sorrowful. And further moving away, Lord Krishna was also trying to now establish that death is something not to be stopped or can be prevented. So till verse number 25, from verse number 12, Lord Krishna was trying to explain and teach Arjuna, and of course teach us also about Atma. At this point, Lord Krishna has got a slight feeling. If suppose people are not able to accept, or Arjuna is not able to accept this Atma theory, then how is the other way that I can make put sense in Arjuna's mind? Of course, including us also. So he takes a sort of a hypothetical situation in which he says, even if you believe that he will be constantly born and constantly die, still there is nothing to worry about death. So anything that is going to be constantly happening, why do you worry about it? Death is constantly happening, birth is constantly happening. So even if you look into that situation, we are talking about the body which is born and dies. So in hypothetical situation, Lord Krishna moves away from Atma and connects with our own experience or our own knowledge, that which is physical. And he says this physical body is something that constantly is born and dies. So if that's what constantly happening, what are you worrying for, Arjuna? There is nothing to worry about death, because it is going to happen. And he establishes this in verse number 27, saying that if those who are born and sure to die, and those who are died are sure to be born, then why are you crying for this unchangeable nature, Arjuna? So he says that nature is unchangeable, so you are in a choiceless situation, Arjuna. If people, all those who are born are going to die, and all those who are dead are going to be born, and this is what is nature is all about. And don't try to change the nature, and don't worry about the nature, because it is a choiceless situation. When you are in a choiceless situation, you have to learn to accept it rather than grieving about it or feeling sorry about it or worrying about it. That's what Lord Krishna says here. Death is natural phenomena. Birth is also a natural phenomena. You can't do anything. So that which you are not able to change, why are you trying to grieve for that? So there is no further examples or anything for us to understand that death is natural, birth is also natural. So for us also there is a lesson here. When you are in a choiceless situation, the best option available to you is that accept it gracefully, because you can't do anything. So this is what in verse number 26 and verse number 27, Lord Krishna moved away from the Atma theory and went to the physical body theory, saying that that which is going to perish, that which is going to surely die, and that which is going to surely be reborn, okay, and which you cannot change, don't worry about it, Arjuna. It doesn't make any sense to worry about it. So stop feeling sad about it. And for us also, we have to understand, which we will try to learn a little bit more on these points in verse number 28 onwards, which we will see in this class. In verse number 28, Lord Krishna further continues that Arjuna, for all the life, beginning is unknown, end is also unknown, only the present is known. I think this is something we need to very, very clearly understand. Beginning is unknown, end is unknown, what is present is the only thing that is known. So we will see this in two contexts. One, in terms of this universe. We don't know when this universe began and when this universe is going to end. But all we know is that the universe is right now there for our experience, which is the present. In the second context, we don't know what was our Janma before we were, and what is our Janma going to be next. So we don't know the beginning. Where did my entire journey of life begin? As a human being, or as an animal, or any other creature? We don't know that. And when is it going to end? When is it going to end? There are two things that we need to look into it. The end, one in terms of the end of this birth, which is when is my death going to happen? Do we know that? We don't know that. And second, when is this cycle of birth and death is going to end? Which also we don't know. All we know is this, the present, which right now we are experiencing. So when you are not sure about your past, because you don't have any control over that, and when you are not sure about the future, which again you do not have any control, what is that you can really work on is your present. So even in that present, we need to understand this like this. I will come from the universe theory once again. When, see, in science, Einstein came out with the matter theory. E is equal to mc squared. So he talked about matter. And today, science is proving there is nothing like matter. E is equal to, there's energy is equal to matter, which means E is equal to m. Energy is nothing but, so matter is nothing but energy. There is only one thing that is there, and that is energy. This energy manifests in different form, which we will understand when we get into chapter number 13, where Lord Krishna is going to talk about the creation. It will be a wonderful knowledge for us. But right now we will understand that even science today says there is nothing like matter, there is only one thing, that is the energy. Maybe in different forms. It manifests in different forms. So this unmanifested stage is what we call it as the non-beginning form of this universe, whatever it is. The unmanifested state is what we call it as the non-beginning of the whole thing. The manifested state of this energy is what we call it as a creation or birth. And then what happens? It starts once again, starts to unmanifest from the manifest, and everything is destroyed, or we call it as a death. So energy is in the unmanifested stage, which is beyond our experience or visibility, and then it gets manifested, and that's what is within our visibility as well as experience. That's the present. And then once again it unmanifests and goes beyond our visibility or experience. That is what we call it as death. It is a non-stoppable cycle. It keeps on happening. This is an understanding that we need to have. So, as I was saying earlier also, that which is not stable, that which is not sure, how can we cling to them and say that I am secured or looking for a security? So we are looking for the security from something which itself is insecure. That is the foolishness we are doing. There is a very famous saying which says, ignorance is a darkness where all the negatives are developed. Ignorance is the darkness where all the negatives are developed. Yes, all our negative thoughts, approaches are developed in the darkness of ignorance. Once I get this knowledge, two things we need to should be as a knowledge. One, all that is under our experience is Maya, unsure, insecure. The first learning we should have. The second one is that Atma is the only one that is secure sure and the truth. If we can able to gain this knowledge, we will see a phenomenal change in our life. Phenomenal change. In English, we use this word called blissfulness. The very hearing of this word, blissfulness, itself brings in a sort of peace, calmness. Yes, sir? So that's what Lord Krishna is trying to say, or trying to teach Arjuna, and through Arjuna, all of us. So he says that past is it's not in our control. Future is also not in our control. That which is in our control is the present. And gain this Atmanyanam and live this present in absolute peacefulness. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So coming to our life, we always worry about the past. Oh, it happened to me. Had I done like this, I would have got a better offer. Had I purchased that land in the 1970s or 60s, today it should be worth crore or more than that. My father told me to buy it, but I missed it. Had I done that, I would have been a crorepati today. I missed the chance. Had I studied well, today I would have been in a very good position, earning very well, living a good life. Had I done this, had I done that, how many times, dear friends, we keep on using this statement, had I. Either had I done it or had I not done it. But what is it you can do now by thinking about what you have done? Can you change it? Can you put a reverse gear? It's not a movie where you can get into a time machine and go back, correct everything, set right and come back. That's not the reality of life. What is gone is bygone. And the second thing is that we worry about our future. Will I get my promotion? Will I get a nice woman in my life as my partner, wife? What's going to happen to the future of my children? Will they study well, get good degrees, do well? Oh, how am I going to get my daughter married? So many things. And suddenly when someone is ill, then the future is all about himself. Will I survive? Even if I survive, will I be the same as what I was? Or will I die? If I die, my God, my life is gone. And the future is always unsure. It is a secret. The future is a secret. We say rakasyam. When we say rakasyam, when we say secret, that is beyond my knowledge or perception. That's what we call it as a secret. The secret is not, today the word way we are using secret, that I have kept something, there is a secret for you. I am not going to reveal it now. Can you tell me what is inside my hand? We tell the child, right? So what is a secret means? That which the child doesn't know, beyond the knowledge, beyond the accessibility, beyond the perception. The child may say, it is a chocolate or it is a small toy, it is A, B, C. Then the father says what? He opens up, and maybe it's a small gold stud. And the child is, wow. So when the secret is revealed, when the secret becomes a known thing, look at the joy in the face of the child. But a secret is always a secret as long as It is not within your purview, within your knowledge, accessibility, and future always remains as a secret, which is beyond your accessibility. And why do you worry about it? But we are worrying about our future. And we fools, what we do is that we never even think about the present, which is accessible to me, which is available to me. It says, use me. I'm there. Use me. But our eyes, we are blind to that extent. We are searching for something that is beyond my purview, beyond my accessibility. Are we not blind? Are we not handicapped? Are we not insane? Lord Krishna says the present is what is available. Now, there is a difference between the way the management and the corporates communicate this present and Lord Krishna communicates. Because since I also a corporate trainer doing soft skills for many corporates, I know their way of communicating this. Enjoy the present. They say this present is available, enjoy. Go berserk, freak out. Lord Krishna doesn't say that. Lord Krishna doesn't say in that way. He says, this present is there, available to you to gain this knowledge and live a peaceful life. Friends, that's the one thing that we are running for. Peacefulness in our life. Happiness is not available when you're not in peace. And that's why I don't know, when someone is dead, we say at least right now you rest in peace. Because the rest of your life, all your life, you are running for that peace. You didn't get it. At least now you please rest in peace. Friends, Lord Krishna tries to say, peace is the base of life. It is not the ultimate one. It is not a goal to be achieved. It is a platform on which the life should be lived. And so Lord Krishna says, this present is available for you to gain that knowledge and live your life in the platform of peacefulness. And that is the context of Lord Krishna talking about present that's available, not in the corporate language. So having said all those things, he says that don't worry, make the best use of it. Gain this knowledge. And how is he going to connect this? He says, Arjuna, some seeker of Atma, this is verse number 29, he is moving away from 28. And why he says we are fools? Arjuna, some seekers of Atma sees it as wonderful. Sees it as a wonderful. Some talk about it as wonder, and some hear it as a wonder, but no one has known it. So for everyone, Atma Jnanam, Atma seems to be wonder in some form or the other. Some sees that as a wonder, some tries talk about it as a wonder. Atma, wow, what is that all about? When we use the word wonder, he also, through this word, when you wonder, see, the wonderness comes, when you are not sure, when you are not clear. Wow, I wonder how this happened. Because you don't know. It has excited you, but you don't know how it happened. So you make the statement, I wonder how it happened. So Lord Krishna says that some seekers sees it as wonder. They see it as wonder. Some talk it as a wonder. Some hear that as wonder. Why it is wonder for many of us? Because we are trying to objectify Atma, which is not possible, and it is always going to remain as a wonder for people. And he says, but no one has known it. When he says no one has known it, he is talking in their language, because since we are all objectifying everything, we will never know about it. Because why? Atma is not an object, it is a subject. Aprameyaha, that's what we said. It remains always a subject, never an object. It is like you show the photograph of a person to him and he says, I wonder how this happened. He says, I say that I had a camera, I took the photograph. No, I mean, how did it come here? Where is the camera? I didn't see the camera in the picture. No, it is separate there. Now, how can that be? When camera is separate, how my picture came here? So, while seeing the picture, we are trying to objectify the camera, which is not there, and we are not able to believe it. We wonder, how is this possible? So Lord Krishna says, Atma is not something, an object, and people look everything, because we are practiced, we are accustomed to look everything as an objective. Anything that is not an object, anything that I cannot objectify, I am not able to accept it. But Atma is not an object, it is a subject. It is there only for knowledge. It is not there for experience. Dear friends, please understand. Anything that is available for your experience, it will be definitely objectified. But Atma is not for our experience, it is for our knowledge. It always remains as a subject. So he says that people wonder about it. They wonder and wonder and wonder. Now, when you say you are that Atma, hey, come on, I am this body. How can I be the Atma? That's the wonderment comes. Wow, I am the Atma. I wonder how it can be, because I didn't see anywhere. There's a wonderful example on this in our Shastras. It talks about Karna. They say, assume a situation, but it really happened, but here they are creating a situation. When Kunti goes to meet Karna and tell him the truth that you are my son, and now they are slightly dramatizing here, and they say, Kunti goes, meets Karna, and Karna knows that Kunti has 5 sons, Pancha Pandavas. And now when Kunti says, I have a 6th son also, what will be Karna's response? And Shastra says, Karna might be asking so many questions. Where is he? How does he look like? Have I seen him? And when Kunti says, yes, you have seen him. When did I see him? And now Kunti puts sense into Karna and tells him that you are the 6th son. You are the 6th son. And what happens to Karna? It's a wonderment for Karna. I wonder how is this possible? Because when Kunti said, I have a 6th son, Karna was thinking about someone. He was trying to objectify someone. And when Kunti says, it's you, me, I am the 6th son, I wonder how that can be. But when Karna gets that knowledge that he is the 6th son, has Karna changed in any way? Has he physically changed? Any some changes have happened within Karna? No. Karna remains the same. There is no change within Karna. When the secret is revealed, when the fact is revealed, Karna gets an additional knowledge here that I am that sixth sense. It is only a knowledge he gets. Otherwise, there is no change in Karna. There is a change in his mindset. There is a change in his mindset. What is one of the biggest problem or worry about of Karna? That he is not a son of a Kshatriya. He believes that he is a son of a horseman. And when he comes to know that he is son of Kundi, then he gets a sort of a mental peacefulness that I am also a Kshatriya. But otherwise, you don't find any change happening within Karna. But the fact is revealed. Karna gains a knowledge that a new knowledge is gained, and this new knowledge takes him away from his worry. And similarly, Atma is a knowledge. When you gain the knowledge of Atma, there is not going to be any change. You are not suddenly going to change. There is no change in your physical appearance. Maybe if you want, you can grow a bird or something like that, but that's not a big change in you. But yes, when you come to know about that fact that everything is Atma and you are that Atma, there is a change in your mindset. Now you are at calm, you are peaceful. That change happens in your mind. It doesn't happen physically, but since we are used to objectify everything, we try to objectify this Atma also. And what Lord Krishna said about Atma? Atma is Nitya, Atma is Satya, Nirvikaraka, Aprameyaha, Sarvagadaka. He said so many things about Atma. And everything is within us. That Atma which is immortal, that Atma which makes me to understand the fact that this body is Maya, this mind is also Maya. But what I do, I search for that peacefulness outside. And I would like to narrate a story here. I would like to narrate two stories here that may establish this fact. It's like once a thief and a merchant, a businessman was traveling in the train, and they were sitting opposite to each other. And the businessman knows that he is a thief. And the thief knows that he is a businessman carrying, good sum of money. It is almost a three and a half days travel, 3 nights travel. So, on the first night of the journey, when the businessman went to sleep, the thief, who is aware that he is having enough money because he saw him counting that, wanted to rob that and get down in the next station. So he was searching for the money in the bags of that merchant everywhere. He couldn't get that money. He was doing that all night, but he couldn't get. And the next day came in, the morning came, and to the surprise of the thief, the businessman started counting that money. And he didn't know where he kept that money. So he decided, tonight I will finish it. I will definitely steal that money. And the second night also he tried and tried and tried. He searched in all the bags and everything of that businessman. He couldn't get that money. And on the third morning, he again saw that businessman counting that money. And the thief was absolutely perplexed. He has never had such a worst experience as a thief in his life. He was perplexed. He surrendered to the businessman. And he said, I am a thief. Since last 2 nights, I've been trying to steal that money, but I couldn't get it. Where did you keep that money? So the businessman, with a smile on his face, he said, "Friend, I know you are a thief. You know where I kept the money? I kept the money where you will never search for it." Where is that? The thief was thinking, like, where is it? Where the place that I will never search? So looking at that, his face, his reaction in his face, the businessman with a big smile again continued, "Yes, I kept it in a place where you will never search." Where is that? He said, "Friend, when you go to the toilet before you go to sleep, I keep this money underneath your pillow. And morning when you get up and go to the toilet for freshening up, I take that money from there." So he said, "This is the place you will never search. You will search in my place for that money, but you will never search in your place for that money. So I kept it at there, which is very safe." So Bhagavan also kept that peace within us to be very safe. Too safe it is. We never look into that, and we are searching outside, in the outside world, for that peacefulness. It is within us. This knowledge about Atma makes us to understand that the peace is within us. And once you are at peace, happiness is a default happening. But without that peace, happiness is never going to happen. And let me also share another story here, because it's a very, very important point here. This is a story about a Brahmin who goes to Mahamaham. You know, there's a Mahamaham function that keeps happening, and he went to the tank there in the temple. He had a holy dip. When he dipped in the tank and he came out, he saw that his ring is missing in his finger. So that Brahmin was worried. He don't know what to do. The tank is full of people. So he moved away from the tank, and he saw a small tank nearby. He went there and he started searching there. So the passerbys who were there, they also started searching. And they asked the Brahmin, "What are you searching for?" He said, "I lost my ring, I'm searching for that." So they all tried to help this Brahmin. And they started helping this Brahmin, and they also started searching for the ring. But no one could able to find. And one wise person came and asked the Brahmin, "What's happening here?" He said, "I lost my ring and I'm searching for the ring." So he is a wise man. He asked, "Where did you lose your ring? Where you lost your ring?" He said, "In that tank." He said, "Bloody fool, you lost a ring there, and why are you searching here?" And the Brahmin said, "There is too much of crowd there. It's very difficult for me to search, but this tank is empty. It is convenient for me to search here, and so I am searching here." Friends, that's what we are also. We are so much into this comfort and convenience. And we thought comfort and convenience is what is all about life. And we are going always behind this comfort and convenience. And we lose that actual thing, which is in a different place. So this Atmanyana, this Atma about self-awareness, it is a knowledge about self-awareness. Atmanyana means self-awareness. Where can you aware yourself? Outside, from your wife, from your children, from your parents, your friends, neighbors. If you have to know about yourself, you have to look at yourself. And that is why Lord Krishna says in verse number 29, people wonder about it. Some people look at it as a wonder. Some people talk about it as a wonder. Some people hear that as a wonder, because for them it is beyond their perception. It's a secret. So, but once you understand this fact, then the life will be fantastic. The peacefulness sets in, and the life is blissful. And coming to verse number 30, Arjuna, the Atma is in everyone's body, is not destructible, so you need not worry about anyone's life. So he comes back here, and let us see this verse number 30 and 31 in this class. So he says that the Atma which is in everyone's body is undestructible, so don't worry about anyone's life. Don't worry about Bhishmas, Dronas, Duryodhanas, others, etc. Don't worry about their life. This Atma which is within their body, this is just for us to understand. It is not something substance. Let us once again don't try to. What is there within our body? When you say within our body, the presence of this Atma, consciousness, is non-destructible. It is only to understand this. So, Atma is a non-destructible one. So, don't worry about anyone's life. You are not killing anyone. No one is dying. Atma is non-destructible. It is going to be there. Verse number 31, Lord Krishna says, keeping in mind your Swadharma, you should not fear for it. There is nothing great goodness for a king than fighting a war for Dharma. So Arjuna, you are a Kshatriya. So Arjuna, your Swadharma as a Kshatriya is to fight a war. And there is nothing more great for a king when you are fighting a war for the cause of Dharma. So Arjuna, you are fighting a war for the cause of Dharma. So it's a great thing. It is a Swadharma. If you don't do your Swadharma, you are committing a sin. That's what Lord Krishna wants to say. And there is a message for us also. There is a Swadharma. Everyone. Today it's slightly difficult, a complex thing, because all this Dharma, Swadharma, everything is based on the Varna, Ashrama, Dharma created by Lord Krishna, which we are going to see in chapter number 4. So that Varna is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya, Sudra, and the Ashrama is Brahmacharya, Grahasthasrama, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. So there is a Swadharma. Brahmin has got a Swadharma. Kshatriya has got a Swadharma. Vaisya has got a Swadharma. These three ashramas has got a dharma, Swadharma. So there is also another dharma which is called a Samanya Dharma. So one is a Samanya Dharma, another one is a Vishesha Dharma. This Vishesha Dharma is specific to the ashram. It is specific towards the Varna. You belong to Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra or Vaisya, and also to the ashram. Vishesha Dharma. So, Samanya Dharma is a universal Dharma. Like Ahimsa is a Samanya Dharma. It is applicable to everyone. It is applicable to Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya and Sudra. Don't steal others' properties as Samanya Dharma. It is applicable to all the Varnas and all the Ashramas. So these are called the Samanya Dharma. And then there is a Vishesha Dharma, which is very specific for the particular Ashrama or Varna. And for a Kshatriya, the Vishesha Dharma, the Swadharma, is to protect his people and also fight against Adharma. So that is an ethical way of looking into it. So he tells Arjuna, let us look this in an ethical angle, Arjuna. It is your Swadharma to fight this war. Not only fighting the war, just like that, this war is to establish justice, destroy injustice, Adharma, establish Dharma. So there is nothing great goodness for a king than fighting a war for Dharma. So Arjuna, it is going to be a great thing you will be doing it while fighting this war. If you win this war, you have established the Dharma. If you don't win this war, still you have fought for the Dharma. So either way, it is a punya for you. The punya while winning the war, you have not only established the Dharma, you get your kingdom. If you don't win this war, the punya is that you fought for the dharma and died. So you will get your Swargaloka. So he talks about the Swadharma, and it's very, very important. Today, let us see how this Swadharma is not practiced. Suppose someone does something, a thief enters in a home, tried to steal something. The resident their Swadharma is to catch hold of the thief and do nothing. It is the Swadharma of the law enforcement department to take the appropriate action against the thief. If he need to be beaten, it can be done only by the policeman. It cannot be done by others, which means you are encroaching on someone's Swadharma. Not only that, you failed on your Swadharma, that is ahimsa. You can't do that. But a policeman, after catching a thief, and he says, I will follow ahimsa and I will not hurt him, I will not beat him. Okay. There he is missing his Swadharma. As a policeman, if he has to hurt the other person to get the truth, it becomes his Swadharma. So ahimsa at one point of time is not a Swadharma, it is a Samanya Dharma. On another time, it is a Swadharma. The same policeman, when he goes home and when he has to handle his children or wife or anyone, parents, their ahimsa becomes a dharma for him, Swadharma for him. Even though it is a Samanya Dharma, it is under that condition. There he cannot follow ahimsa, which was a Swadharma when he wears the attire of the policeman when he is on duty. So we need to understand this thing. Today we are not ready to accept this, and everyone takes the lati on his hand. All that person who has a lati becomes a policeman today. When I say lati, a person who has got the stick in his hand becomes a lawmaker. So there we are not following the Swadharma, and that is why you find a lot of chaos happening today in our country. Not only in our country, in the world. So Lord Krishna not only preaches Swadharma to Arjuna to fight the war, he also tells us, follow your Swadharma according to a Varna Ashrama Dharma. And also there is a Samanya Dharma which everyone has to follow, applicable to everyone. So with this, we will finish this chapter and in this class, and we will see in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.